What would you do if you lost everything? Not just your money, not just your job, but your future, your confidence, your belief that life would ever get better. What if you were a single parent, living on government assistance, struggling to pay your bills while carrying a dream that almost everyone believed was impossible? Would you keep going? Would you still believe in yourself? Because one woman did, and that's why the world remembers her name. Before she became one of the most successful authors in history, before the movies, before the billions of dollars, before millions of children and adults around the world fell in love with Harry Potter, she was simply a woman trying to survive. Her name was J.K. Rowling, and her story isn't really about becoming rich. It's about refusing to give up when life gives you every reason to quit. Imagine sitting alone. No money, no success, no certainty. Outside, the world continues moving. People are building careers, starting families, living their lives. And you're wondering if your own life is falling apart. That was Joanne Rowling in the early 1990s. She wasn't famous, she wasn't successful, she wasn't even sure what her future would look like. But sometimes the greatest stories begin in the darkest moments. Joanne Rowling was born in England in 1965. As a child, she loved stories, not just reading them, creating them. She imagined worlds, characters, adventures. While other children played games, Joanne created entire universes inside her mind. Have you ever had a dream that nobody else could see? A dream so personal that you couldn't even explain why it mattered so much? That was writing for Joanne. It wasn't a hobby, it was part of who she was. But life doesn't always reward dreams immediately. As she grew older, she faced the same fears that millions of people face. What if I'm not good enough? What if I fail? What if my dream never becomes reality? And then life became even harder. After university, Joanne worked different jobs. She searched for meaning, for purpose, for direction. But the answers never came easily. Then, one day, something extraordinary happened. In 1990, while traveling on a delayed train from Manchester to London, an idea suddenly entered her mind. A young boy, thin, lonely, unaware that he was actually extraordinary. A boy named Harry Potter. Imagine that moment. No computer, no notebook, no internet, just an idea. An idea that would eventually change the lives of millions of people. But Joanne didn't know that. Not yet. At that moment, Harry Potter was simply a dream. And dreams are fragile, especially when life begins to fall apart. Because shortly after that moment, tragedy struck. Joanne's mother died. The pain was devastating. Imagine losing someone you love while trying to build your future. Imagine carrying grief while pretending everything is okay. Would you still have the strength to continue? Joanne tried. She moved to Portugal. She hoped for a new beginning, a new life, a new chapter. She got married. She became a mother. Perhaps she believed that everything would finally work out. But life had another lesson waiting for her. Her marriage collapsed. She found herself alone, a single mother with a young daughter, very little money, and a dream that seemed more impossible than ever. At one point, she later described herself as being as poor as it was possible to be in modern Britain without being homeless. Think about that. The woman who would eventually become a billionaire could barely afford to survive. Can you imagine how that feels? To look at your child and wonder how you're going to provide a better future. To watch everyone else's life moving forward while yours feels stuck. Most people would have given up. Most people would have abandoned the dream. But Joanne Rowling wasn't most people. Because every time life knocked her down, she made a decision to stand up again. And that's when something unbelievable happened. In the middle of financial struggle, in the middle of fear, in the middle of uncertainty, she began writing a story about a boy who refused to give up. A boy who discovered that even in the darkest times, there is always hope. She didn't realize it then, but while she was writing Harry Potter, she was also writing her own story. The story of a woman who would one day prove that failure is not the end. In fact, sometimes failure is only the beginning. To be continued.
Imagine waking up every morning knowing that almost everything in your life has fallen apart. You have no successful career, no financial security, no guarantee that tomorrow will be any better than today. And yet, you still choose to believe in a dream. Could you do it? Because that's exactly what J.K. Rowling did. In the early 1990s, Joanne Rowling found herself in one of the darkest periods of her life. She was a single mother. She was unemployed. She was living on government assistance, and she was trying to raise her young daughter while carrying an idea that nobody else could see: Harry Potter. Think about that. The story that would one day become one of the greatest literary franchises in history existed only inside the mind of a struggling mother who couldn't afford to fail. But perhaps that's why she kept writing. Because when you have nothing left, sometimes your dream becomes the only thing you still own. Every day, Joanne faced the same question. Should I give up? Should I accept reality? Should I stop believing? But every time she asked herself those questions, she opened her notebook and she wrote. Sometimes in small cafes, sometimes while her daughter slept beside her, sometimes when she was exhausted, sometimes when she was afraid. Have you ever chased a dream that nobody around you understood? A dream that looked foolish to everyone else? Joanne knew exactly what that felt like. She wasn't writing because someone promised her success. She wasn't writing because she expected to become famous. She was writing because she had to. Because Harry Potter wasn't just a story anymore. It was hope. And hope can be a powerful thing. The strange thing about dreams is that they often become strongest when everything else falls apart. While the world saw a struggling single mother, Joanne saw Hogwarts. She saw Harry. She saw Ron and Hermione. She saw magic. She saw possibility. And maybe that's what separates extraordinary people from ordinary people. Extraordinary people continue building their dreams even when reality gives them every reason to stop. After years of struggle, rewriting, editing, and doubting herself, Joanne finally completed her manuscript. Imagine holding that finished manuscript in your hands. Years of struggle, years of sacrifice, years of hope, finally transformed into something real. She must have felt relief, excitement, maybe even confidence. But life had another lesson waiting for her, because finishing the book was not the end of the struggle. It was only the beginning. Joanne sent her manuscript to publishers, and then she waited. Days passed, weeks passed. Then came the response: no. She sent it to another publisher. No. Another. No. Again. No. And again. No. Imagine opening another rejection letter. Imagine seeing someone tell you that the dream you've sacrificed everything for simply isn't good enough. How many rejections would you survive? 5? 10? Joanne Rowling was rejected by 12 publishers. 12. 12 people looked at Harry Potter and believed it would fail. 12 people looked at one of the greatest stories ever written and said no. Would you have continued? Would you still believe in yourself? Most people wouldn't. Most people would have accepted reality. Most people would have placed the manuscript in a drawer and moved on with their lives. But Joanne Rowling wasn't most people, because deep down she still believed. Not because she had evidence, not because she had success, not because anyone encouraged her. She believed because she had already survived worse things than rejection. And that's when something unbelievable happened. A small publishing company called Bloomsbury agreed to publish Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. But there was a problem. The publisher didn't expect much. In fact, Joanne was advised to find another job because she probably wouldn't make much money writing children's books. Imagine hearing that. After years of struggle, after years of rejection, after finally getting a chance, someone still tells you not to expect success. What would you do? Would you become discouraged, or would you keep believing? Joanne kept believing, because sometimes the world cannot see your future. Sometimes only you can. And soon, the entire world was about to discover just how wrong those 12 publishers had been. To be continued.
Imagine spending years fighting for a dream, years of rejection, years of doubt, years of wondering if everyone else was right. And then, one day, someone finally says yes. Would you believe that your life was about to change? Or would you still be afraid? Because that's exactly how J.K. Rowling felt. In 1997, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone was finally published, but there was no celebration, no red carpet, no headlines, no prediction that this book would become one of the greatest success stories in history. In fact, the first print run was only about 500 copies. 500. Think about that. Today, Harry Potter has sold hundreds of millions of copies, but in the beginning, only 500 books existed. Sometimes the greatest empires begin so quietly that nobody notices, not even the person building them. Joanne Rowling was still struggling financially. She was still a single mother. She was still uncertain about the future. And perhaps that's what makes this story so extraordinary. Success didn't arrive all at once. It arrived slowly, quietly, one reader at a time. Then something happened that nobody expected. Children loved the book. Not just liked it, loved it. They couldn't stop reading. Parents recommended it. Teachers recommended it. Friends recommended it. And suddenly, a small book written by a struggling mother began spreading across the United Kingdom. Have you ever experienced a moment when you realized that something bigger than you is happening? That was happening to Joanne. The dream she had protected for years was beginning to belong to the world. And then something unbelievable happened. Harry Potter won major literary awards. Publishers in other countries became interested. More readers discovered Hogwarts. More readers discovered Harry. More readers discovered the magic that Joanne had created while sitting alone in cafes with almost no money. Imagine looking back at every rejection letter, every painful moment, every time someone told you that your dream wasn't good enough, and then watching the entire world prove them wrong. What would that feel like? Relief? Joy? Vindication? Perhaps all of those things. But the biggest surprise was still coming. In 1998, an American publisher purchased the rights to Harry Potter for a surprisingly large amount of money for a children's book by an unknown author. For the first time in years, Joanne no longer had to worry about survival. For the first time in years, she could breathe. Think about that moment. A woman who had once depended on government assistance, a woman who had been rejected 12 times, a woman who had nearly lost hope, was finally beginning to see her dream become reality. But here's what makes this story remarkable. Joanne didn't become successful because she avoided failure. She became successful because she survived it. And that's a lesson many people never learn. Because most people stop after the first rejection. Some stop after the 5th. Almost everyone stops after the 10th. J.K. Rowling continued after the 12th, and that's why history remembers her. Then came Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. Then the 3rd book. Then the 4th. And with each new release, something extraordinary happened. The audience grew. The excitement grew. The phenomenon grew. Soon, bookstores around the world were opening at midnight. Children waited in long lines. Adults became obsessed. Harry Potter was no longer just a book series. It had become a global movement. And the woman who once feared she had failed at life was becoming one of the most famous authors in the world. But success brings a new kind of pressure, a new kind of fear. Because when the entire world expects greatness from you, what happens if you fail again? And for Joanne Rowling, that question was about to become very real. To be continued.
Success can feel like a miracle, but sometimes success creates fears that are even bigger than failure. Imagine spending your entire life dreaming about one thing. Then one day, that dream comes true. What happens next? What if you can't do it again? What if people discover you were never special? What if everything you've built disappears? These were the questions J.K. Rowling began asking herself. By the early 2000s, Harry Potter had become more than a series of books. It had become a global phenomenon. Children were reading. Adults were reading. Entire families were reading. Bookstores around the world opened at midnight. Millions of readers waited anxiously for every new release. And at the center of it all was a woman who only a few years earlier had worried about how she would pay her bills. Imagine standing in front of millions of fans. Imagine hearing your name spoken all over the world. Would you feel successful, or would you feel afraid? Because success creates pressure, and pressure creates fear. Every time J.K. Rowling sat down to write the next Harry Potter book, she faced a terrifying question. Can I do it again? Can I create something worthy of the people who believe in me? Can I live up to the expectations of the entire world? Most people never experience that kind of pressure. J.K. Rowling lived with it every day. But she kept writing, because that's what she had always done. Not because it was easy, but because she believed in the story. And perhaps that's the secret hidden inside every extraordinary achievement. You don't continue because you're confident. You continue because you care. Then something happened that changed everything. Hollywood came calling. Film studios wanted Harry Potter. The world wanted Harry Potter. Everyone saw the opportunity. But J.K. Rowling saw something else: responsibility. Because Harry Potter wasn't just a business. It wasn't just entertainment. It was part of her life, part of her struggle, part of her survival. Imagine creating something so personal that letting someone else touch it feels terrifying. Would you trust them? Would you let go? J.K. Rowling made a decision. She would protect her story. She insisted that the films remain true to the books. She fought for the characters. She fought for the world she had created. And history would prove that she was right. In 2001, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone was released, and the world changed again. Millions watched, millions believed, millions fell in love with Hogwarts. The books became movies, the movies became a global cultural phenomenon, and J.K. Rowling became one of the most successful authors in human history. Think about that. A woman who once sat alone in cafes because she couldn't afford anything else had created one of the greatest entertainment franchises ever known. But let me ask you something. Was her greatest achievement becoming rich? Was it becoming famous? Was it selling hundreds of millions of books? Or was it something else? Perhaps her greatest achievement was proving that failure does not have the final word. Because every rejection she experienced, every painful moment, every night she wondered if she should give up, became part of the story that inspired millions of people around the world. But life wasn't finished testing J.K. Rowling, because after unimaginable success, she would make a decision that terrified her. She would choose to start over again, and once again, the world would doubt her. To be continued.
Imagine achieving everything you ever dreamed of. You have money, you have success, you have respect, you have millions of people around the world who admire you. And then you decide to start over. Why would anyone do that? Why would someone who had already become one of the most successful authors in history risk everything again? Because that's exactly what J.K. Rowling did. By the late 2000s, Harry Potter had become more than a book series. It had become a global phenomenon. The books had sold hundreds of millions of copies. The movies had earned billions of dollars. J.K. Rowling had become one of the most famous women in the world. Most people would have stopped. Most people would have protected their success. Most people would have spent the rest of their lives enjoying what they had built. But J.K. Rowling had never been motivated by comfort. She had always been motivated by creation. And that's when she made a decision that shocked the world. She decided to write something completely different. Not Harry Potter, not fantasy, not the story that had made her famous. Something new, something risky.
Imagine being known for creating one of the most beloved stories in history. Then imagine trying to convince people to see you as something else. Would you take that risk? Would you willingly walk away from the thing that made you successful? J.K. Rowling did. And she did something even more surprising. She published a novel under a different name, a secret name, Robert Galbraith. Think about that. One of the most famous authors in the world decided to hide her identity. Why? Because she wanted to know something. She wanted to know if people would still read her work if they didn't know who she was. She wanted to know if she could succeed again, without fame, without reputation, without Harry Potter. That's a terrifying question, because deep down, all of us wonder the same thing. If people took away our success, who would we really be? For a while, nobody knew. The book sold only a small number of copies. No headlines, no celebrations, no global excitement. For the first time in many years, J.K. Rowling experienced something familiar. Failure. Again. But then something happened that changed everything. Her secret identity was discovered. Suddenly, the world realized that Robert Galbraith was actually J.K. Rowling. Sales exploded, readers returned, and once again she proved something extraordinary. True success isn't about getting lucky once, it's about having the courage to begin again. And perhaps that's the greatest lesson hidden inside her story. Success doesn't remove fear. Success doesn't remove doubt. Success doesn't remove failure. Even after becoming one of the richest and most successful authors in history, J.K. Rowling still had fears, still had doubts, still had moments when she questioned herself. Because that's what makes her story so human. She wasn't fearless, she simply refused to make fear her decisions. Have you ever delayed your dream because you were afraid of failing? Have you ever convinced yourself that now isn't the right time? J.K. Rowling could have done that. She could have stopped writing. She could have protected her legacy. Instead, she chose courage. Again. And maybe that's why millions of people continue to be inspired by her. Not because she became famous, not because she became rich, but because she kept moving forward when every reason to stop seemed logical. And perhaps the most important lesson of her life was still waiting to be revealed. To be continued.
What is the real meaning of success? Is it money? Is it fame? Is it becoming one of the most recognized people on earth? Or is it something much deeper? Because if there's one person who understands the true meaning of success, it's J.K. Rowling. Today, millions of people know her as the creator of Harry Potter. They see the books, the movies, the billions of dollars, the global success. But they don't always see the woman sitting alone in a cafe, the woman who didn't know how she would pay her bills, the woman who was told no again and again and again. Have you ever noticed something extraordinary about the greatest success stories? They almost always begin with failure. Not because failure is special, but because failure forces us to discover who we really are. J.K. Rowling once said that failure stripped away everything that was unnecessary. Think about that. Imagine losing everything, your plans, your confidence, your security, and then realizing that you're still standing. That realization changed her life.
because she discovered something that millions of people spend their entire lives trying to understand. Rock bottom isn't the end. Sometimes it's the strongest foundation you'll ever have. Have you ever experienced a moment when everything seemed to fall apart? A moment when you thought your story was over? J.K. Rowling had those moments, many of them. And yet, she kept writing. Not because she knew she would succeed, not because someone promised her a happy ending, but because she refused to let failure decide who she was. And perhaps that's why her story continues to inspire millions of people around the world. Because deep down, all of us are afraid. Afraid of failure, afraid of rejection, afraid of hearing the word no. But J.K. Rowling proved something extraordinary. The people who change the world aren't the people who never fail. They're the people who continue after they fail. Imagine if she had quit after the first rejection. Imagine if she had quit after the 5th. Imagine if she had quit after the 12th. There would be no Harry Potter, no Hogwarts, no story that inspired generations. And perhaps that's the most powerful lesson of all. Your greatest success may be hiding behind the rejection you're experiencing today. Your greatest opportunity may be hiding inside your greatest failure. Your greatest story may still be waiting to be written. Today, J.K. Rowling's books have sold hundreds of millions of copies. Her stories have been translated into dozens of languages. Her imagination has touched the lives of nearly every country on Earth. But maybe her greatest achievement wasn't creating Harry Potter. Maybe her greatest achievement was proving that hope can survive anything. Poverty, rejection, failure, fear, loss. And if hope can survive those things, perhaps your dream can survive too. So if you're struggling right now, if you've been rejected, if you failed, if people don't believe in you, remember the woman who wrote in cafes because she couldn't afford an office. Remember the mother who raised a child while carrying a dream nobody else could see. Remember the writer who was rejected 12 times. And remember what happened when she refused to quit. Because every book, every empire, every success story, every legend started with a dream, and every legend started from zero. Perhaps your story is only just beginning.